Okay, whatever. That was way more than normal. What's up, big dog?
What up, fam?
How are you, man?
I'm good, man. Chilling. Feeling good.
You looking good.
Thanks, man. Slimmed down a lot. Lost I don't know. I lost about 15 pounds.
God damn.
Yeah.
Just for...
I was just too big.
Yeah.
So I kind of pulled back on training, eating as much.
Yeah.
Lost a little bit of muscle.
Yeah, you're still jacked
But
up, bro.
it's just I was too big.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But you look great, bro.
I've been running and shit,
Yeah,
you know, I
dude.
feel good. I've been getting active, you know what I'm saying?
You've been doing some new shit.
Doing other shit outside of the box, you know what I mean? So I'm enjoying that.
What's kind of generated that for you?
Honestly, so whenever I decided to step away from bodybuilding a couple months ago, in July, I was, going hard as fuck.
Yeah.
I was training very hard 5 times a week, pushing myself, taking it there. You know what I'm saying? Training hard, building muscle, getting huge. I was tired all the time. I was always it was hard to eat. I was just I don't think this shit's worth it.
Yeah.
So I was just I don't think it's worth trying to, build all this muscle, step on stage, one day, maybe once or twice, and then call it quits. If I'm gonna do this, it's gonna be something that's gonna be long term, and it's not something I want to do. So I realized if I don't want to do bodybuilding long term anymore, there's no reason to pursue it. And I also didn't want my whole personality to be centered around bodybuilding anymore, or about lifting weights or just showcasing a physique. You know what I mean? I wanted it to be more just holistic, a holistic approach. You know what I mean? I eat healthy the majority of the time, but I like to also go out to eat, or I like to train hard in the weight room, but I also like to go for a little run. I want to still be able to do that shit. If I want to go to a yoga class and put my body in different positions, and yoga's good for learning new positions too, by the way.
Hey, it can help the fellas get active.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Fellas, get to yoga, you know what I'm saying? You're going to learn some new positions. Shit.
But find out how flexible you're not.
But doing stuff like that, being able to actually be use my body, but to do other things besides moving heavy ass shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what sparked it. I wanted to just get more active with that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know, today I'm talking to, as the internet knows him, Papa Pump.
What's up?
I know him as just Ben. He's I've been working with him as my coach for a little over a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And
coming up on 2 soon.
Yeah, almost 2 years. Great dude. IFBB Pro and men's physique.
Men's
correct?
physique,
yeah. And father, great all around dude. Got a hell of a story. So today we're gonna dive into a little bit about coaching, nutrition, training, obviously some kind of stuff there. And just going to talk about some mindset beliefs that you and I have cultivated and what's really helped our relationship grow over the last few years and what we've seen kind of generate success in life. Just trying to, again, continue to put a message out to the world that they can find truth in, right? I remember when you were one of the people that I confided in about wanting to do this.
Yeah, dude.
Earlier this year, and here we are now. In the Dallas fucking Public Library.
In the Dallas Public Library, man. I'm actually really impressed with what you've been doing, man. I'm glad that you're, putting yourself out there, getting people on, talking about vulnerable shit, and helping people at the same time. So
appreciate it. And I always believe in giving people their flowers and paying that love and respect. But you're a huge reason that I even got to this. Ben has a weekly coaching call in our group, and we'd get on there and I would just try to, the guys would be talking about stuff and I just kind of want to give them something not even some just fake motivation, but just some real life things to soak up and something tangible to leave with. And it was through many of those calls that Ben kept telling me hey, just if you got something to say, just say it, man. Yeah. Because the first few calls I was really hesitant, or I'd text him something after and he'd be say that shit in the call, you know, people need to hear that. And so through Ben continuously inviting me to share the things I had to say, gave me the ability to believe I could actually even get to a point where in front of a camera I can now talk and have hundreds, sometimes thousands of people watching my video. So
yeah, dude, you got a lot of shit to say, a lot of good stuff to say, man. That was that to me, in those group coaching calls, those first couple ones, I was nervous. I didn't I got a bunch of guys, leading multiple different people at one time. Mm-hmm. And, hearing somebody actually give input to the conversation, putting into the conversation and you know, leaving the group with something valuable. I was like, this is why I do this,
Yeah.
because I wanted to create like a space for guys to come in and share, not just receive, but like also share. So yeah, it was nice. It was refreshing. So I appreciate you.
Man. Yeah, of course. So I guess we'll start with today. We'll just jump into the soft intro to kind of just like training, bodybuilding, and then we'll kind of get a little deeper as we go. So what kind of made you want to pique your interest in bodybuilding and kind of make you start that journey initially anyway?
Yeah, dude. So like I was always into fitness. I just remember like distinctly, I don't know what I was doing, but like one Saturday or something, ESPN had something on, and I think it might have been some bodybuilding show. And in the 90s, you know, golden era. I looked on the screen. I don't know who it was, but I just saw these dudes flexing. I think it might have been like Dexter Jackson or something. I was like, dang, these guys look good. That's crazy. Yeah. And I never really thought about it again. Like, and I just like was like, I just kind of want to get in shape, you know? And I just like started, you know, doing push-ups every now and again, running around outside. Always played sports, you know, always had fun with that. But once I got to about high school, that's when I started like lifting weights. Did this summer program before freshman year. It was like a 12-week strength training program. And like, dude, I just like got super strong in 12 weeks. I got in shape and I like started like building muscle. I like looked good. I was like, that's crazy. And I loved it. And so like throughout my high school career, I wasn't really like great at sports. You know, I mean, I was athletic. Like could run fast, jump high, I could lift. Yeah. But like when it came to like at the skill, I wasn't very good. You know what I mean? I was just very athletic, but couldn't really put it all together. So I was never really good at sports, but I loved lifting, loved training, loved conditioning. And then 20s, like in my 20s, after like high school ended, you know, like I went to college and I didn't really lift as much anymore. I started partying and shit for a long time. And then every time I would like, you know, kind of start, you know, getting my shit together, I would just go to the gym. Get jacked, you know what I mean? Like fucking huge. And then I would like dwindle off again, like start partying again, like lose it all. Yeah. And then I would like go back, get fucking jacked, and then like
just kind of tired of
like lose it again. Like I would go from like big, like muscular to skinny because I would just like, you know, I don't know. But every single time I would just go to the gym just because it was familiar. I knew what I was doing. I could see results. And then, you know, after a while, I was like, well, this isn't really enough for me to like, you know, this isn't sustainable. So like the final time where I like went on like my last like, you know, bender, I guess. I was like, I'm done, you know, going back and forth. So I just decided to get like serious. I took it a lot slower this time. I went a lot more like strategic with it. Yeah, intentional. Yeah. You know, started eating right. You know, started supplementing properly, you know, started following a proper training program, writing my own training programs, doing things like consistently for like, you know, I did a whole year and I was like, okay, cool. I got a year down. Then I did like another year and I was like, okay, cool. We're good with that. And then like, you know, I was like, even still smoking cigarettes at the time. I was like, okay, I'm going to quit cigarettes. And then like I quit cigarettes and like that was like another thing. I was like, all right, cool. We're good. And I just started seeing really good progress. People would come up to me in the gym and be like, oh, you should start like, you know, competing, or, you know, you should do like men's physique competition. I'm like, you know, I'm still having fun with this. I don't want to, you know, ruin it by, you know, trying to chase something. So in the back of my head, I always wanted to step on stage, but I was like, I want to do this shit. Like when I started, I want to be ready to win. So I took so much time building up, like many, many years. And each of those years, like I probably could have, you know, done all right if I competed, you know, but every year I got better and better and better and better. And then one year I was just like, I think it was like in July, like 2021, I think. Yeah, 2021. It was like the middle of the month. It was a stressful month. I was like running around all the time. It was like Sunday afternoon. I didn't have any food prepared for the week. I was like, bro, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I had no idea what I was going to eat. So I was like, okay, let me get a coach. Like, cause it was like that quick, that quick of a decision. Like I'm like running around too much right now. And I don't know what I'm doing right now, cause I got too much going on. I need somebody to tell me what to do today. And so I like hired a coach that day. And my intention was to just like go on a build. And he's like, nah, we're just gonna put you in a show right now. I'm like, all right, cool. So like we did like a quick 12-week prep, and we fucking crushed it. Like I was already in shape like when I started the prep, but at the end of the prep, like I was like, oh shit, like this is crazy. Like crazy what my body was capable of like doing, like being able to see that. Then like finally stepping on stage after all those years of like putting in the work, doubting myself, like thinking I wasn't good enough or wasn't ever ready. And then like finally stepping on, getting put in the like fighting my way into the center and like leaving with like a first place medal was just like, oh shit, like, okay, I can do this. And then so I went and did another show a couple weeks later. That was like an NPC show. And I qualified for nationals. Like I got first place and qualified for nationals. I was like, oh shit, like I guess I'm good at this. You know what I'm saying? And then we just hammered away. Like I think we did like a 6-month rebuild, and then we did a prep, and then we got third at nationals. I thought I should have gotten first.
Yeah, a little subjective, but
I mean, I looked really good. But you know, it's not what the judges wanted. There were some things that I could have tweaked, but you know, I got third, and I was just like, okay, cool. Like I'm all right at this, and I should be doing this. And then I went one more time, and then I ended up getting first and getting my pro card.
Okay.
And so that's just kind of how it went down. Like just it was a grind. Like for me, like competing, it wasn't just something that I was just like, oh, I want to compete. I want to compete because I need to get in shape. Or it's like it wasn't really like that. Really wasn't it. I was like, I'm already in shape. You know, I want to love lifting weights. I want to love dieting. I want to love taking care of my body. I want to, you know, really truly understand how my body works, and then I'll compete.
Yeah.
And now I'm done with it, and like I can still stay in shape pretty easily. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think the thing about competing is like, I think a lot of guys will, you know, go into it just like, oh, I want to get in shape and I want to do this, and then they'll like compete, and they don't necessarily stay in shape after that, or they're like, oh, I used to compete, or you know, I used to do this. And it's just like, you know. For me, it was just like something that's like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right.
Yeah.
And until I feel like it no longer aligns with me, like that's how long I'll do it. So once I felt like competing no longer aligned with my goals, I just stopped.
Yeah.
I was in the middle of preparing, like I was in the off season, and we probably could have started prepping at any time. And I was just like, this doesn't really align with my goals anymore. It doesn't really align with my future. So I'm out. It was a pretty easy decision.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said for, you said a lot there, so I'm going to come through a couple of things. I'll start at the beginning, which is where you talked about how when you're in high school, you did a little 12-week program. It's crazy how fast you can see results. I think most people are kind of ignorant to that. Like how fast you can, especially if you're coming from nothing.
Yeah.
Like if you're even just not in, say, fat or unhealthy, but just like, you know, just a normal average person, like, oh, I can't grow quick. It's like, if you train correctly, you can, like, and insanely quick. Right, like especially when your body is not used to that, like the shock initially, the muscle mass and the strength you'll gain is remarkable. But then another thing you said there that sticks with me hugely and resonates in all aspects of my life is I didn't want to just do things to do them. You know? And we kind of had that talk initially when I was like, maybe I want to do a show, but I told you, I was like, I don't want to just do a show to do a show. Like if I go, I want to win. Like, that's it for me. And I can see that in every aspect of my life is where it can be easy to, and we've had this conversation, but if I try to prioritize too many things at once, there's only so much I can be good at. Yeah. And, you know, I can't be good at 10 things. I can put 10 things on the docket, but maybe 1, 2, maybe the third thing will be really good. But then really 4 through 10 just become something that I'm like maintaining or maybe progressively getting slightly worse at. Right. And so then you kind of feel this like, I wouldn't even say sense of failure, but you're like, well, why? I'm not, you can acknowledge that you're not progressing at the rate you want because there's too much there. And so I was just like, how can I maximize my success, but then also make sure I'm doing the things I want to do? Because it never was just I want to just make the team. It was like, no, I want to start. Yeah. I didn't want to just be in the Army. Like I wanted to do the hardest job in the Army. I didn't want to just run. I wanted to run the hardest races. I wanted to run a marathon. Now I'm going to transition to ultra, the 100-mile race. Right. And it's not just again about like, oh, saying I did it. Like, no, I want to do it. Like you have 30 hours. Well, I want to do it in sub 24. Yeah. Like I want to do like, same thing with marathons. Like I want to qualify for Boston. Like, oh, I run a marathon. Like great, it's cool. Like, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's, just your goal. But for me, is like I needed more than that. Like I just showing up and saying I was there wasn't enough for me. I always needed more.
Well, I think that's like, part of like an individual makeup. I don't think everybody's made like that.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And like that's cool. And like I have a little bit of envy for those people who could just like go out and just like do some shit
And
just
just feel
for the
good.
sake of doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and for me it's just like I want to fucking like in.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to be the best I can be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't necessarily just want to like, you know, I think there's a difference between doing your best, right? And then being your best. You know what I'm saying? It's like doing your best is like, I don't know, but I'll try. You know, I think that's like kind of the idea. It's like, I'll give it all I got. You know what I mean? But like being your best is giving it all you got, realizing what you need to improve, and then doing it again and again and again and again, and then not seeing results. And like, fuck, let me do it again and again. Then seeing results. And like, okay, cool. Let me keep giving that effort, then not seeing the results, and then like keep going up and showing up. You know, so that's how I'm wired. You know what I'm saying? Like I just always want to be better than I was yesterday.
This consistent seek for improvement, something you and I both relate to.
Yeah.
And I think, excuse me, is what you said there is like where you have to go through these phases of like, it's initially, I actually put it on my LinkedIn last week and it was popping per se for LinkedIn.
All right, sure.
But it was like, success is, oh God, I'm going to butcher it because it's not sitting in front of me, but it's kind of matrix-like. Or paradoxical. That's actually what I said. I said success is paradoxical because it's simultaneously so much easier than you think, while also being way harder than you can imagine. And it's like I say that to say is because we think that how does the C-bums or whatever look that great? It's like it's really boring shit consistently over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So it's easier than you think. You think that oh, dude's in there, like he's moving crazy weight, but he's built up to that.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's just a path of consistency over such a period of time. But it's harder than you think because when you start at the beginning, you don't know anything. You have no idea of like, how do I do this movement? How do I actually like set my lats? How close to the machine should I be when I do the lat pull down? Is my shoulder supposed to be hiked on bench press? Like, no, I should set it down so I can activate the whole pec. Like you don't, so it's everything is like learning. Every failure is just like, you're going to get hurt because you don't know what you're doing. And inversely, like we talked about this with the same thing with as you're starting to run a little bit, like, damn, my feet hurt, or people say my shins hurt. I'm like, I know you're just running wrong.
Yeah.
You know, like if you run the way the body's built for you to do, which is more in the mid forefoot area, like your body's able to disperse that load more evenly across your leg and you don't hurt. But if you slam your heel into the ground, if you're just sitting down, anybody listening, slam your heel into the ground as hard as you can a few times, like it hurts your shin. And that's what a lot of people run like because they just have poor form. Inversely, same thing can be said for the gym. People are just doing things the improper way. So that's why it's harder than you can imagine because you don't have any data to base it off of.
Right.
You don't know what the right path or success looks like because maybe you're the first one in your family to pursue actually being healthy or to go and try and do that career thing or actually make that much money. So everything is just experience for you. You're having to gain the experience. You have to pay your dues. As I say, do the reps.
Yeah.
Like you just have to do the reps and be able to accept that it's going to be simultaneously easier than you think while being harder than you can imagine.
Yeah. And that's like it is paradoxical, man. Cause like when you put it in that perspective, like it isn't super hard, you know, it's like, it's just showing up continuously. But at the same time, it's just like, you don't know where you're going. Like yesterday, right? I was on a run and I didn't know the distance. I had never ran that trail before. And the whole time I was like, damn, this is hard. And it was hard because I had no clue where I was going.
Yeah.
But it was easy because I just had to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And the whole time I was like, I just want to stop and walk. People were stopping and walking. I'm like, nah, fuck that.
Yeah.
I just got to keep going. And it was hard. Like, I wasn't fast by any means, but I was like, if I just keep showing up and keep doing this, then like, it'll be fine. But my goal isn't even to be fast at that. But back to the point of, you know, what you just made is just, as long as you keep showing up for yourself, as long as you keep moving, as long as you keep putting, like taking the next step, you're gonna get there.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, you may realize like, fuck, that was tough, but you did it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, for me, I felt like it was tough for 5 minutes. Like after I finished that run, like, damn, that was fucking hard.
Yeah.
And once I got myself, but I knew if I like had, quit halfway through, I'd have been thinking about it all day.
I say if you think I forget who said it. He said, if you think the price for success is too high, wait till you get the bill for regret.
Oh yeah. I think that was Tim Grover. Yeah.
And I think there's so much to be, it's like, and Chris Williams says it too, is like, contemplate the cost of inaction.
Yeah.
Like, what is not doing? Some people think that's a free choice. It's like, no, it's still a choice. Like, no choice is a choice.
Yeah.
And I think just to sum up that point we're on is consistency and effort over a period of time will put you in a period of, or a spot of success that you couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
And again, simultaneously, like we mentioned with, a 12-week program for weightlifting, like fucking center yourself for a year. Really take your head out of your ass, make some goals, find out what the work you need to do is to it, and just wait.
Yep.
And in a year, you can be in a spot that you were like, I never thought I'd be here. Then, like you said earlier, with weightlifting for you, like do it for another year.
Yep.
Do it for 5 years. And the life that you thought you'd never have, all of a sudden it's every day. That's the life you're living.
Yep.
And it's like, you know, everyone says that overnight success. It's like that overnight success is years of work you never saw.
Yep.
You just now care because they won.
Yep.
You know,
So I just showed up, you know, it's like, y'all just think I just showed up. And that's like, that like really pisses me off. Like, you know, to an extent, like some people just don't know, like the amount of work that I put in. Even the people closest to you, who they're not with you, you know, like when you're grinding, they're not with you when you're failing, when you're questioning yourself, you know, when you have to figure out a way to turn shit around. They're just with you when you fucking win.
Yeah.
Even the people that love you the most, you know what I'm saying? Like they only know as much as you share with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's hard because no one will ever understand.
Yeah.
And you can't expect them to. So.
I think because Alex and Chris just did another podcast. If you haven't checked it out, I know I sent you the last one like 8 months or so ago when it came out. They just did another one like earlier this month. It's amazing. I'm saying that because I'm about to make a point. Alex said, he said, if everyone could understand you by definition, then they would be you. Right. So it's like, you can't expect everyone to get it. That's why I think my internalization lately has been, it's got to be for me. Like it ultimately has to be for me.
Yeah.
Right? Because no one else could ever get it to that extent, because if they could, then they would be me.
Exactly.
No one else has been with me through my whole life. Maybe segments, even if you have a partner who's been around for a long time, or friends, like you said, they haven't lived every second of every day with you. The only person who's done that is you.
Right.
So if they could get it all, they would just be you. And
right.
that is kind of impossible. Well, not kind of, it's factually impossible. So I don't know, I think it helps just center the frame of, it has to be for me.
Yeah. And then when you look at it from that perspective, it's just a lot easier to deal with, like, you know, the criticism or like the hate, you know. And I say that just because like there's criticism from all angles that I get at this point. And it used to bother me, you know, at the beginning, like when people would like, oh, well, you don't know this. I'm just like, oh, yes, I do. I know all this.
Yeah.
Like, and I was
feel
just
the need to like prove yourself.
Yeah, I was like, but then at the end, it's just like, I don't have to do any of that. Like, I know what I know, and I'm pretty centered in it. So,
and I think
like,
understanding that those are the consequences of success.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you don't got a hater, you ain't doing shit.
Exactly.
If nobody's going like, and hating on you, like, you're probably not doing a whole lot then.
Yep. It's actually kind of funny nowadays. It's just like, I don't care.
Yeah. It's like
maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't, but I don't. It doesn't change what I'm gonna do next.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah. And we covered a lot. I loved that.
Yeah, dude. We're going fast here. Like
we're one question deep, and dude, I built 30 questions. We're one in. I don't think we're gonna make it through all 30. Let's kind of talk a little bit about your journey to becoming pro. Was obviously, that's not the timeline or the route most people take from a time perspective collectively.
Yeah, it was
usually
fast.
It's a lot. Yeah, it was very fast for you. But there was some failures. Let's kind of talk about how that kind of shaped perspective for you. The times that it didn't go well, or you know, maybe in prep things didn't tighten up as good as you wanted to. Maybe for national, you said you thought you should have won, but was there anything that, like you've mentioned before, like like a couple preps, I was like eating ice cream like 2 weeks out or something, you know, like. You know, so kind of like, and hey, I mean, even C-Bum said it. He's like, just if you fuck up, if you have 5 meals off in your first prep, like only have 4 the second prep. Like just continue to make it better. So, but like, I guess, was there any, I mean, obviously there is like sometimes where you were just like, fuck, I don't think it's like, that maybe you didn't think it was coming together and there was some doubt, or.
My last prep, like when I went pro, that was a tough one. Cause we shortened it. Like it was kind of like a last minute decision.
I remember, you kind of just.
I was gonna go travel at some point. Like we were gonna do some traveling, but then like we just canceled the travel idea, and so I reached out to my coach. I was like, all right, bro, let's just like get this over with. You know what I'm saying? And we had like 14 weeks or 18 weeks, and I knew like the 18-week one was a little too far out, like, because that was like my busy time. Like, you know, that's when I go see my family in Florida, and like I have my son for the whole month. So I was just like, we got to do it at this show or else it's not going to work. And so we did it. We did really, like, we were doing good. But then about like 3 weeks out, I was like looking at my physique. I was like, bro, like we are not on. Yeah. Like it's not it. Like, looked great. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But like, I know how good I can get. So.
I remember even like a couple days up to show, I was talking to you and you were like nervous because you like weight was still up.
Oh yeah, wait a minute. Let me cover this. This is I'm gonna tell you the whole story. So we were 3 weeks out, and we had to drop the hammer hard. So we started up in the cardio. We really had to like push my body to change up in the cardio, drop in the carbs. Typically like I can still go pretty high on carbs and, you know, still lose weight and stuff and still tighten up. We had to go pretty low for us. Started tightening up pretty quick, you know, started seeing some changes, and I was like, okay, cool. We're looking good. Things are going well. Like I went into the show, or went into the trip for the show confidently. But once like the day before the show, like I wasn't like my tightest. And then show day of my last show where I won my class, I woke up looking like shit, like absolute dog shit. Like I'd ate too much too late the night before. Did not sleep well. Like it got to the point like my food wasn't digesting. I could like feel it. I could just still feel it in like, you know, the upper part of my stomach. So
it's kind of like a bloat sensation.
Yeah, I was like, fuck, you know, couldn't sleep. Woke up like in the middle of the night. I went for like a walk.
I remember,
I was like, okay, I got to go for a walk.
Walking around the hotel.
Yeah, I walked around the hotel a couple times, and then tried to go back to sleep. Woke up, sent pictures to my coach, and I knew that I was like off.
Yeah.
And so I sent him, and then I showed him pictures of my last show morning. And I was like, bro, we are not even close. But we just went and like, luckily he was there, and we just walked around the hotel. You know, we did a couple thousand steps. You know, I rested up, and then I was like sitting there thinking, I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna do it. I don't know if I can win. But then like I just like realized like it's just a lot of pressure right now, and this pressure is a privilege. It's gonna be cool to talk about one day. And then like an hour later, I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, okay, shit, we're hitting now. Wasn't my best peak by any means. It was still a really cool look. Like it looked cool.
You looked good.
Just based off of how lean I was and how muscular I was and like how detailed it all came in. But I'd peaked better before, you know, if that makes sense. But,
no, definitely.
Yeah. So, but you know, we pulled it off and we ended up winning.
Yeah.
But like, it was like the moments leading up until like right before I walked on stage, where I was just like, okay, cool. Like we did all this work, everything like, you know, panned out. I really like put in my best efforts. And when I walked on that stage, I was so fucking confident that I was going to like just whoop ass. Even to the point where like in the first, like they call you out to, they compare you and then they call you out for your individual routine. And then they do in-depth comparison. In the first comparison round, when I turned around to hit my back pose, my abs cramped up.
Yeah.
Like hard. And then they like had us go walk off stage, luckily from the back pose. They're like, okay, like we turned around, they're like, thank you. I'm like, okay, good. I looked down, dude, my abs were like off center.
Yeah,
like they were not straight, and so I had to push them back into place. And like I was like kind of like keeling over, and then this guy was like, another competitor's like, you good, bro? You all right? And I looked at him like, man, don't like, I like had to get right back in killer mode. I was like, man, I'm fine, man. Like, don't worry about me. I got this shit. Like had to get back in killer mode real quick, push my abs back in, did some breathing, went back on stage, crushed it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. But that was the time where I did not feel like, you know, we had the best circumstances.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I think that's what the preparation is for, though. So we talked about a lot. Like that's why you do the work leading up to it, so that you don't have to. It's like I can't, like if this one thing is out of place or like,
or if like your ab is, you know, on the other side of your stomach, you know, it's just like I've been here before.
Yeah. No, but I think I say all that to say, like, there's a learningness in figuring it out. Because if I don't have to make other decisions about, like you said, with food or prep, you know, what I'm going to wear today or whatever, it's like I can make decisions. I'm going to figure this the fuck out. I have the capacity for it. Versus if I'm making too many decisions because I don't have a plan, I'm not doing anything structured. Like now, this one thing that really wouldn't be a big deal is like now it's going to break us.
Right. And that's like, and you know, over the years that's why I think I'm really grateful for taking the time, you know, to not rush into it, you know, and to like really take those 4 or 5 years on my own of like learning how I operate, you know, how I think when, you know, shit gets tough. And then, you know, having the guidance, you know, pairing the two together, that's where I'm really grateful for, you know, learning myself on my own, then learning with somebody else. And then taking what I've learned and what I've been taught and, putting it to use when it's just me.
Yeah. No, definitely. Okay. Well, as we like to say, I'm going to take it there for stuff a little bit deeper than this.
We're taking it there.
We're taking it there.
All right.
So another component that you and I have personally and vulnerably shared with each other is the struggle with addiction.
All right.
And the road to that, as you called it, a bender per se. It was a bender, all right, at least for me.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot. People look and see a negative connotation to that, but I see it as like that's really the thing that gave me so much perspective after.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of want to just break that down with you a little bit and say, like, in what ways did that obviously impact your, you said you'd been in and out of the gym, like you'd go and party, you'd do your thing, and, kind of let your life kind of fall apart a little bit and then be like, oh shit. Like there was always this kind of consciousness to you about, I need to get it back together.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come back. And so like, what do you think was the final time? Like I'm sorry, that's a bad way to phrase that. When you said, hey, I'm done with this. I'm no longer doing any more drugs, any more drinking, anything like that. What was like versus the other times, what do you think really separated it for you?
Okay. So I think for me, dude, this is kind of tough because there were so many times where I was like, I'm going to get it right this time.
Yeah.
It's really just like when I came back from like rehab the last time, I had to go back to move to my parents' house. I was in my late 20s.
Yep.
And my son was there that morning. Like when I got back, my son was there. I woke up and he was just happy to see me.
Yeah.
And like he didn't know anything. He was a baby.
Yeah. Just, hey, Dad.
He's like he was just excited. Like he's like got super excited. He's like, Dad, and then like ran to me, gave me a hug, and like all that. I was like, all right, gave me some perspective on just like, it doesn't really matter like what you've done in the past, like, you can still be present.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times when I was using drugs and like was trying to party, I was trying to escape, 100%. Reality, and I was trying to escape being present with like what was in front of me, or like not really be present even with myself, not dealing with like, what I perceived as failure from the past, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the losses that I took, and escaping those and like trying to cope with the losses instead of learning the lessons. But like seeing like, my son just see me as just like a pure, human, who's alive and
just you're there.
I'm just like, okay, well, if
he can see me that way.
If he can see me as like this great, flawless individual,
then maybe I can see myself that way.
I can see myself as somebody who can improve.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I did this for him.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. But like that, he helped me see it.
Yeah.
And so I decided I was going to be more present. I decided I was going to, take this shit seriously. I started doing, the groups, the programs, the 12-step programs.
Yep.
Did that. I found out like over time, it just really wasn't for me. Like it's not for everyone. And, it's still great. Like I learned a lot, served its purpose in my life, and I moved on. But for me, like, I think I really had to like hone in and, find my purpose to serve, and that was when I really started, locking in with helping people get in shape. Yeah. Helping other people, because like, if we go back to what I talked about earlier, I would always get in shape, and like that helped me. Right. But then I was like, well, why do I keep falling off? I
need something more.
Yeah. Like, why do I keep going back if getting jacked and juicy,
this should be enough.
If getting jacked and juicy was enough, shit, I wouldn't go back to getting like high all the time.
Yeah.
But so then I started helping other people.
Yeah.
That's like when I was like, oh shit, like this is different. Like, and I started seeing people change and like change their lifestyle and like change their habits, because they believed in themselves enough to make the step, and then they trusted me enough to guide them.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm glad I could be a part of that. And that's when I started realizing like that I was walking in my purpose.
Yeah.
And so that's why I do what I do now, just because it's like I love, coaching you guys. Like I love, having a small group of guys that I work with, individually. And I only take on a few guys at this point. I don't really like work one-on-one with a bunch of people. Just for like energy purposes, you know. But at the same time, like, doing it on a grand scale, like how I do it with like the social media, like just getting random messages from people, like a message from a follower that's just like, yo, I've been doing this. I just want you to know that I've been getting amazing results. I feel really good. I'm grateful for what you do. Like that's just like,
Yeah, that's it.
like that's awesome, because that's just one person who says it. So there's more people doing it.
Yeah.
And then of course, there's the business side of things and whatnot, but just knowing that you're making an impact while being able to do what you love for a living is great. So, I mean, I would never go back to, a path that would get me so far removed that I could no longer serve.
Yeah.
So
you said a lot, man, which I love because that's what we do. We take it there per se.
Yeah.
But I'll just start with the things I found the most compelling that I can relate to the most. This one is our kids have a way of I don't know the best way to say it. And I try to be very particular with my language. But
I feel like they just hold up a mirror.
Yeah. I mean, you find out exactly who you are, right?
Yeah.
Because their actions are a reflection of who you are. And so when people are like, oh, my kids suck, it's like, what do you think's the variable there?
Yeah.
What's the cause of that? Maybe you're not as good as you think you are.
Yeah.
Maybe there's more to you than what you're pursuing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't like the person that you're creating and shaping in the world, maybe that's an indicator that there's more to you than what you think.
Yeah.
And yeah, kids are great in that way. They hold you accountable. You get to see who you are. But like you said, they also give a love that's so pure and so unconditional. I've yet to see anything else like it, even from really good partners that I've had in my life. That a child's love is I think, the most pure and innocent thing that we can get.
Yeah, dude.
And there's nothing else like it.
Man, I sometimes like I have to have like conversations with my son. Like if I like, do something like that's like off, basically like the conversations that I have with him are so eye opening. You know what I mean? They help me see everything. I'm sorry, I just got distracted. But like he'll just, I don't know what it is about my son particularly, but he just has a way of just being so real, raw, and honest.
Yeah.
And like, we can have deep emotional conversations, and like he has like such a high EQ.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's crazy. Like you're like 10 years old. Like, how do you know this? How are you talking to me like this? There's other things like, IQ wise, like there's some things that like, I can't have certain conversation with. But EQ, it's like, I'm learning a lot about myself. Like, it's just like, I feel like he's further along than me in some areas, and I don't understand how.
Yeah.
And so like we recently had a conversation. He's just like, let me know about myself. And I was just like, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. And I think, and you and I have talked about, and this one particular thing, I want to bring it back because I wasn't done with the other stuff, but is struggling with the view of ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. That enough factor that we've talked about. It's like the view, what I see in the mirror, like when I send you a picture, I'm like, damn, bro, I feel like look like shit. You're like, well, you look fucking huge. So, and it's like overcoming that ability of like, this is what I see. Was like, this is what someone who has, I mean, a slight bias, right? There are children, but like, this is what they see. And like I said, they're so raw and honest with us that they thought you're fat. Kids will be the first to let you know, like, hey, you're fat. Like, hey, you look this way. And so I don't know if you saw, but I interviewed my son.
I didn't get to watch that one.
Dude, it was, I think, I know you'll understand this. It's like, there's a few times as a parent where you're like, I know I'm getting it right.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's like, I think it's sinking in. I think it's working. Like, am I doing the right things? But in that like hour-long conversation I had with him, I was like, oh shit. Like you said, like we have multiple conversations where the EQ is there, but to really hear him, like the way he retorted himself, the values, the like when I was asking things about like what he viewed a good person as and what made up hard work and how do you feel when you accomplish something and how do you feel when you fail, right? Like, and the responses I was getting, I was like, fuck, like it's working.
Yeah.
Like I felt very fulfilled and like, hey, I'm not fucking it up completely. He's getting it.
That's still something I'm learning, as a parent, That's something I'm trying to figure out still, how to lead. a child to grow, because I don't really know what I'm doing.
Man,
But I'm figuring it out, and I'm trying to get better every time. So,
but I think we never fully know, right?
mhm.
Like we're all kind of really fucking guessing. And like I speak to undergrad students at the university that I went to, and when I told them, I said, that CEO that you think's got his whole life together, like he's just as unknown in other aspects as you are. Like there's still fear, there's still angst, there's still a fear of maybe not doing a good enough job, and maybe at a grander scale than what you're feeling as a student, because he's got the pressure of I'm leading this company. You're just respectfully like you're just a student looking for a job. There's pressure there, but like perspective is everything. Like he's feeling everything you're feeling too, and to say all that is like you never fully know. No one's got it all. The person that you're viewing, like, oh man, Tommy on Instagram, he's got his life figured out. It's like,
Yeah.
what you see is maybe it appears to be figured out, but we're all guessing to some extent. Like
Mhm.
there's this idea if you get it figured out, it's like if you ever had it figured out, then it wouldn't really kind of mean anything, right? The journey is like learning as it goes and being able to accept that maybe parts of it, but the game's always going to change, and that life is going to continue to evolve. The only thing permanent that we know will always exist is simply change. So back to some of the other things that I didn't get to touch on because they were really good. Being useful, I think, is the most compelling thing and the most impactful thing. Will Smith says, like, I can tell you I've made almost the most amount of money you can make. I've been to the peaks of that. I've gone to the places. I've bought the houses. I've bought the cars. And there's nothing I've found more fulfilling than being of use to someone else, right? And I think there's a reason that whether that's being a parent, whether it's coaching other people, whether it's running a podcast and trying to put a message out there for someone, it's like that feeling when someone messages you and says something kind that, hey, like I was listening to your show and like it really, like it made me realize I should change the way I think about this or that. Or someone says, hey man, like you changed my life because I've lost these 20, 30 pounds and I'm feeling confident and my marriage is back on track and I'm got a promotion in my job because I'm moving different in my life now because I have this confidence that I've never had before. Like that feeling is like uncomparable. There's nothing else that's like, it's that. Right. And so, yeah, I think just being useful, like you said, being able to serve others in whatever capacity you can. I would invite anyone to do that because
I think that's like the divine like calling of any human.
Yeah,
is to be of service to others in some capacity.
Exactly. And then on the earlier topic of like, I think with me and my addiction also was in the same vein of avoidance. Like there were things I just didn't want to deal with. Or it was too much that I, in that moment at least per se, or stuff that I knew I should deal with, but I didn't want to. I thought like, if I just drink or I just pop these pills, like I won't feel those things anymore and they'll go away.
What do you think you were avoiding? I can tell you what I was avoiding, but I want to.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we've maybe touched on some of this. Initially, like a lot of loss in my life. I just didn't want to accept.
Yeah.
Like I lost my dad at 19, right after I turned 19, right after my son was only 5 months old at that point. And so it's like I'm 19, I'm a new father, and my idea of what a man is now gone. And so all these questions about like, how do I navigate life? How do I figure this out? Am I doing a good job? Like, who do I ask now? Right? Or like when Bentley does things now, I'm like, fuck, like I just had these moments where I'm like, fuck, I'd love to talk to you, but just I think for a good 4 or 5 years there, I just didn't want to deal with that. Like I just had to suppress it and bury it. And then I was in the Army and then I had deployed and, had the experiences of all that. And then one of my really good friends, he got in a tragic accident and died. And then I got out of the Army and I had to have knee surgeries and I was laid up and I was like physically incapable. Like I couldn't do anything for myself. And so I was already on painkillers for the surgeries. And it just like was this way. It's like, oh, here I feel nothing. And it was like, felt like peace.
I feel that, yeah.
And so it was just an avoidance of all the things I knew I needed to face because and maybe in that moment of me being in my early 20s and not wanting to face it, I knew I had some inkling of realization that if I faced them, I could probably be a way better person. But it just felt like so much to take on all that. Like, how can I be someone? Again, I think it's that still, even then, I had that fear of like, I don't know if I can do it. Like, am I capable of handling all that? Can I bear all of that honestly and make it through it? Am I going to be someone who can survive that? Because it already feels like it's killing me now.
Yeah.
So like if I accept it, I mean, the options are like I overcome or I die. That's essentially the end game.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, like death seems pretty good. Like this is horrible. Like I hate this. I don't want to feel anything. And there were, I tried to OD on pills and failed and then stared down the barrel of a 45 multiple nights. Just like, don't be a pussy, just do it. And I could never bring myself to get it all the way. And now, obviously hindsight, I'm very grateful I'm still here. I love my life. I love the people I get to experience and meet and have close to me, you being one of them.
It's like a full 180, It's like just the opposite end of the spectrum. You're embracing it instead of running away from it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the key.
Yeah.
If you face it.
Yeah. And it sounds like, okay, yeah, no shit. But when you're in that place, I know that it's hard. But to anyone who is struggling, like the person that you want to be or think you could become is just on the other side of those hard times and those struggles.
Yep.
And as I've said before, like when you're the most tired, your demons aren't, and they don't care, right? When you open your eyes and you're feeling like shit and the hangover or the drugs are just like lingering and you just feel like ass, like those demons are still right there. Yep. They didn't go anywhere.
Yep.
And like you can never outrun them. Like, they're always going to be just right behind you. So the only real alternative, is like, I said it all the time. It's a phrase I patented probably about 8 months ago. It's like, what's the alternative? Mm-hmm. You've ran a lot and you've realized that hasn't worked. So the only alternative left is to turn around.
Yep.
And I think what I could give to anyone as a hopeful message is when you turn around, you realize that they're just as scared of you as you are of them.
Facts.
That's like they are not ready for you to turn around.
They're not.
And when
they
you
don't
do,
want
it's
you
like,
to.
Oh shit! This wasn't in the script.
Well, I feel like it's like you only turn around when you feel like you tap into that other power. We're taking it there. Like we're like that. Like if you're like fleeing, from all these, if you call it demons, it's self-doubt, self-loathing, fear, hatred. But when you like tap into like the power of like love,
Mm-hmm.
if you believe in God, you know what I'm saying? Like you're not just coming with what you have, you're coming with the power greater than you. So like it's not even a fight.
Yeah.
It's won.
Yeah.
It's over. You know what I'm saying?
Almost instantly.
Yeah.
And now the healing, that's the time.
Yeah.
Right. It's like what I tell people is like, if you have a leak in your boat for 2 days, like once you find the leak, how long does it take to fix it? Like however long you take to identify that you have a tool to, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But now, or inversely with weight loss, like that's the scooping the fucking water in a bucket and tossing it into the ocean. Like that's losing the weight. Mm-hmm. The moment you say, hey, okay, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to get a coach, I'm going to do whatever, like that's the cork.
Yeah.
Like the bleeding or the water getting in is stopped.
Right.
But now you have to get rid of all the shit that you've let in.
Right.
That's the healing. That's the losing the weight. That's the improvement. Right. And so it's like you said, when you realize that you can turn around and face it, that's so fast.
Yep.
It's just the recovering from it. But last, I want to go a little deeper on this because we're already here. Is what was the hardest truth that you had to accept during your recovery, and how did it affect your personal growth?
The hardest truth?
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
I can share mine if you want a second to.
The hardest truth, shit, man. I think it's just, for me, I just had to be real with the fact that, I didn't know everything. Yeah. Like that was just like, for me, like I grew up like priding myself in like knowledge and like I learned and like I was an excellent child. Like that was the thing. Like that was kind of like the deal. Or maybe that was just like the label that was put on me, just like, but as I got older, I realized that I just don't know shit, and I have to learn a lot, or I have to like take a back seat, or maybe I should like shut my fucking mouth, and, really realize that, I don't have things figured out, and with that, like, I realized that I've been avoiding a lot of things. Like I was scared of a lot of things. Like that was a huge, factor as well. It's like, I thought I knew everything, but I was avoiding the work because I was afraid.
Yeah.
So once I like realized that the only thing that was holding me back was fear, it made it pretty easy to, flip it around and just start diving in.
Yeah.
I've never really thought about that. So,
I'm with it, with the questions.
Yeah. Like that's something I never really thought about, but I guess if off the cuff, like that's the biggest one. Yeah. Like, realizing that I have to like really, really go in for the things that I want. Mm-hmm. Like nothing's just going to come. Like, even though things have come easily to me in the past, like, and, I know how to get where I want, I know how to figure out situations, I still got to put it, like, I actually have to put in that fucking work.
Yeah. You have to do the reps.
Yeah. got to do the reps. And once I figured that out, I was just like, all right, like let's fucking put our head down and do it. And life has been great ever since.
For me, it was that it's all my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Like like, oh, no one showed me this, or I didn't get taught that, or oh, I didn't come from this type of success. It's like, sure, those things are unfortunate, and that hand may not have been great. But if I'm also playing the hand I have like shit, then it's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think that a lot of people said, like, oh, eventually you hate yourself like enough. And I said, oh, I didn't have a problem hating myself at all. It's really good at that.
Yeah.
I just had to like learn to love myself again.
Right.
And realize that like if, like people are like, why does the quarterback or the coaches get all the shit when the team loses? It's like, because like they're the CEO, like they're the face of the team. It's their fault. Right. And then just inversely, when the team wins, Nick Saban's the best coach. Why? Because Alabama won all those titles, like all those championships. Right. So it's like, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Whether it goes good or bad, you're the one to blame. Even if you can't control every factor, the coach can't control every factor. You can't make the receiver catch the ball. He can't, he can say, hey, we're going to run this route and whatever. But if the guy in the slant wasn't open and the guy running long was, like, you're going to put people in place to make decisions that you think will be the best.
Right.
And you're going to coordinate what you can, but there'll always be things that lie outside of your control. So focus on the things that you can control, optimize those so that you can be successful with them, and then realize that I'll just adjust as the things that lie outside of my control happen. I'll adjust accordingly.
The good thing about that is like, once you figure out that it is all your fault, then it's like, I have the power.
Yeah.
It empowers you at the same time. Everything that went wrong isn't, because you were picked on when you were a kid or because your parents did this or it wasn't any of that. It's just really how I responded to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. Very powerful stuff. Like, I think just knowing that, you're the one who controls your destiny and like you are the one who's able to make the decisions in your life and, you can really, take control once you actually acknowledge that you're in the position that you're in with because of the decisions you made.
Yeah.
Game changer. I was thinking about that the other day. I was just like, man, I don't really like subscribe. Like I was thinking about, there was something, I think it was like, I don't know, like the Tyreek Hill incident that happened last week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously he didn't make the best decisions and like that cop was just an asshole. I was reading some of the comments and like people were like, blaming it on certain things, which it may or may not have been at the end of the day. And then like taking it from like, one thing of like an incident of like, arrest to like just like a full thing of like playing the victim.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying about that. But at the end of the day, like, I'm never going to sit here and, feel sorry for myself because I was born a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. I'm never going to sit here and be like, well, this is happening because, I look like this.
Yeah.
Like, I've been arrested multiple times. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm never going to sit back and say like, oh, it's because I was born a certain way or I look a certain way. I was like, no, I was being a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying?
Were my actions?
Yeah. Like I was, when I got pulled over, I was speeding, but I've also gotten away with a lot of things too at the same time. Yeah. So it's like, I can't sit here and say that, just because we've been dealt certain circumstances that we don't have the power to overcome them. And I just want to like say that to like anybody who's listening, man, like if you're, a black man in America and you feel like the world is against you, you have so much control over your outcomes. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
Like as somebody for me, myself, who, I got expelled from school. I've been arrested multiple times. I had drug addiction. Like I had everything stacked against me. And if I can turn it around, like, come on. Yeah. Like if I can do it, like you could do it, and these are all just based off of, a lot of the choices that I've made and I put myself in like the wrong situations. But if I can turn it around, like all you got to do is put in the work. You got to stay so focused and stay so determined to flip your life that nothing can stop you. And like now I know for a fact that I'm unstoppable.
Yeah.
Because if I can be the person to drag myself down so deep, I can be the person to, propel myself that far forward. It's all about decisions and actions.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Something you mentioned that I kind of wanted to chop it up with you about, we just don't often get the time to explore on is And we've, again, briefly touched on it in coaching calls before, but now that I've got this like free time with your attention, I want to bring it to use. We've talked a bit about it before. It's like the fear of success, the fear of like becoming, like, could I really become this thing that I want to be? Could I really be that good? Could I achieve all these things? And that's something that I've struggled with, is I've become more successful, right? And then that, like we talked about that like sabotaging of something.
Yeah,
Dude, I think that's made up in that fear of like, could I really have that good relationship? Could I really get this jacked? Could I really be this fast? Could I have a good, like, this kind of job? Could I make this amount of money? It's like, it almost feels like you like essentially like don't deserve it, And so it's like that fear of becoming everything you said you wanted. Now it's here, and it's like, oh, this can't be for me, And then like the immediate, almost kind of like instinctual reaction to try and then ruin it somehow.
Yeah, like I used to deal with that, dude. You just gotta get over that shit.
Yeah.
Like that, like in like the simplest terms, like you just really gotta get over it. Like I think a lot of the times, like we do these like self-sabotage because we're struggling with the imposter syndrome. You know what I mean? I think it's because like we don't feel like we haven't really put in the work, to really like feel like we deserve what we've achieved. But over time, and I can just speak on this recently because recently I've been seeing like more success in different areas. Once I kind of started like really grounding myself and like, pulling out of bodybuilding a little bit and like diversifying and like putting more effort in other areas, I've been able to see more success. And I believe I deserve it. If this was maybe me like 4 years ago, I'd be like, oh, what the fuck? I don't deserve this shit. But like, no, like I'm over it. I've gotten to the point where I've like, let's just talk about like money, for example. Like you make a lot of money. The first time I made a lot of money, I spent a lot of money because I didn't think I deserved it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like this detriment. I have to get rid of it.
I have to be at zero. Like,
negative.
Yeah.
Run me that overdraft fee.
And so like, but like now it's just like, no, like I don't have to be at that level. Like I deserve to be in this life of abundance because I've put in the fucking work.
Yeah.
I've put in the reps. I thought about it like recently just launched the Jacked and Juicy Method ebook, and it's doing well. It's doing great. And I'm just like, I built this shit, and I deserve it. And, for the first time in my life, I actually feel like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this success. Yeah. I'm not going to sabotage it. I'm not going to do anything to like, poke a hole in the boat, so to say. I'm going to enjoy it and I'm going to sail out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do another one. Because I'm walking in my purpose. That's just what it is. I've done the work to, build up, a platform to where, people trust me. I've done it. So,
and you're still doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just like, in the past, like I mentioned, I would see success. Even when I got my pro card, I didn't think I deserved it. Even when I, had a great year last year, like I had one of the best years ever, and like still didn't feel like I deserve it. But this year, I'm just like, I deserve everything that's coming my way, and I have to act in that frequency, because when I do act in that frequency, I find better ways to solve problems. I find better ways to attack different issues, and my brain just works differently. I'm not thinking from like a problem standpoint. I'm not thinking of a space where it's just like, oh, I have to make sure that I fix this. And it's just more so like, okay, this is what I have to give, and this is how I can spread that message. So now I mean, to answer that question, I don't struggle with that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't. It's just, I got over it because I knew that if I could do it once and then I do it again, and like if I could see something and then sabotage and then bring myself to do it again, imagine how easy it would be if I just, didn't, hate myself for being who I am. You know what I mean? Because I think at the end of the day, success is really just like being the ultimate version of yourself. Yeah. And if you're sabotaging that, it's just because you're not happy with who you are. You got to accept who you are. Once you do that, it's just easy. I'm okay with being that guy on the internet who yells.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with, being the guy who is commented on, for being muscular. I'm okay with being that guy now. That's just who I am. Mm-hmm. I built that.
Yeah.
I love my success now.
Yeah.
you know,
Well, like you said,
because I'm truly operating as my authentic self for like the first time ever. Like I'm doing everything that I said I wanted to do. Like when I was a kid, like when I was younger, I wanted to be like this. I wanted to put myself on camera. Like that was a thing. Wanted to do
yeah.
that. Now it's like I have an opportunity to like write an ad for a company. It's like a reel, but it's like in my head, it's an ad.
Yeah, no, I
You
mean,
know
that's
what I'm
what it is, though,
saying?
yeah.
So it's like, and that's what I always wanted to do. Like I wanted to like produce, direct, star, you know, in certain things. And like now I'm doing it, and it's like seeing it on that level. It's just like, this is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
And it's all because I just said, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it, I deserve it. And that's when shit started turning around.
I have a different approach to the deserve it mindset. I think when you, it kind of hinges upon a component of something you said there, which is you deserve the things you've like done the work for,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so imposter syndrome, right, can come from a rate of progression that exceeds your rate of healing, right? Because if you're really doing the work, right, like if I'm showing up and I'm running 5-6 days a week and I've logging 30, 40, 50, 60 miles a week, like the marathon shouldn't feel scary to me. It should maybe feel excited, maybe a little like anxious or nervous because like I've never done this thing fully, but if I'm growing, accelerating in the success of running at a faster rate than what I can do the race, right? Then I have this like, oh, maybe I don't, like maybe I shouldn't have run this fast. Maybe it's kind of like, you know, like I don't deserve that, right? Because the rate that I'm growing is faster than the rate that I've healed myself from that issue. And running out correlate to me, that's not the best example, but I think that's anytime I've looked at something in my life where I felt I didn't belong, or I didn't deserve it, it's often just because there was like things in myself that I hadn't addressed. And the rate of success I was having wasn't from a lack of work, right? It's for anyone who's maybe I'm oblivious to this, but you don't accidentally get really good at something,
Right.
right? Or stumble into success. If you do, let me know where, because I'll happily stumble my ass
there, you know?
right now. We'll dip out of this interview and get after it, but you know, like I've said all the time, there's intentionality required. So it's like if you know you're intentionally doing the work, then that feeling or that fear that's present is because there's something in you that is like not moving at that same rate.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've done the work. Like, so you're getting stronger. You've been on diet. You've been progressively overloading. You're doing this, like you're jacked. So it's like, have you not done the self-work at the same rate?
Mm-hmm.
Because then you have this like misalignment. The things don't add up. It's not one-to-one. And even in my career, I thought like, oh man, I shouldn't, like, maybe I don't deserve this success or to be paid this much or whatever else. It's like, as the work have I not been putting in the same effort internally to myself as I've been putting externally into this thing? And that's the only time I think every time I felt this way, that's what I can always tie it back to. So I look in and I go, there's a discrepancy in me,
Mm-hmm.
not the thing. Like I did the work, right? Some people don't do the work, right? And that's why they can't have that. I think inversely, you can have the opposite, right? Where like you have this insane sense of self, but then you haven't put in the work over there into the thing.
Well, and I think for me, it's just like, I always like thought I deserved like certain things, and like, but I wasn't working as hard as I needed to work, you know? So once I started working, I was like,
oh yeah,
all right.
It was an alignment. Yeah.
We're here. But then there was times when I thought I believed in something, did a little bit of work, got great results. And I was just like, I don't deserve it. I didn't really put in enough work. But when I put in the work and I feel like I deserve it, that's when it just comes full circle.
I saw Alex say something in that podcast I told you to listen to that was like shook me to my core. He said the reason people get to like something monumental and feel nothing is because they didn't try as hard as they could.
Right.
They tried as hard as they needed to.
Yep.
It's like they did enough to win, but like we said earlier, like there's a discrepancy. Like you did enough to win, but you did, like, you know, internally, like I could have done more.
Yeah.
I could. Oh man, I broke diet. Oh, I didn't do cardio those few days. I did, like, so you know, like there's this wonder in your mind of like, what could it have been?
Right.
And so that's why it's like, like I trained hard enough to do the race in the time, but there were days on those intervals I didn't push as hard as I could.
Right. And I think for me, like now that I'm in a space where it's like I'm not pushing myself to be competitive physically, I have so much more space to just be better, like mentally every single day. So it's like, even like I can look back and say like, oh, I didn't have like the best workout today on this prep or whatever. But I'm like, now that I'm out of that and I'm in other areas, I'm just like, okay, how can I be better today? Like, what can I do better today to move the needle forward in this other area of my life that I'm very passionate about right now? And that's helped me out like just tremendously. And, you know, just being at a point, it's like if you look at it like sales, for example, like, you
Mhm.
know, I do sales. So it's like if you have like a bad day, like you can just get up and have a good day the next day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like figure out how to do it. And so I think that's like the fun game. Um, that's what makes like life fun for me.
Yeah.
Is like I can just keep repeating like actions that work and eliminating actions that don't.
Yeah.
And there's the only clock on it is, you know, life's clock, you know?
Yeah.
But when you're like doing the competitions and like, you know, the marathons and stuff, which is great to do. But the reason I'm not doing it is because I just want to enjoy life again.
Yeah.
Because I spent so much time just like trying to win
Yeah.
at this one thing that it just took my focus off of so many other areas. But I'm happy right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it feels good.
I think I saw this thing that said, for hyper successful people, it's like a pendulum. There's times of like insane work
Mm-hmm.
and then times of like enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's the life of a hyper successful person. Like when the pendulum is all the way over here, it's like, don't ask me nothing. I'm not entertaining anything. I'm not taking a break. There's no like it's on.
Mm-hmm.
There's no off button. Right. And then I think, but the rate in which the pendulum moves is much different for us, right? Like it can get kind of just sat there for a while. Like the pause at the top is kind of a long pause. It can be years even.
Yeah.
Right. And then as it, like you said, now as it comes back down, you're like, oh, okay, like, yeah, sure, I'll do this. Like, I'll go get the pro card thing. And it was like, and then we moved towards neutral. It was like, do I want to compete anymore? And now we're kind of to this point of like enjoyment and relaxation where you're like, hey, I'm going to entertain new things.
Yep.
I'm going to try some different stuff. Hey, bodybuilding right now. Nah, I think
I'm good.
I'm good there. Right?
Yeah.
I want to enjoy. I want to live my life. I do deserve these things. I want to just be present.
Yeah.
And
it's been so like, for me, it's just been super freeing.
Yeah.
You know, I love winning. I love competing, and at some point, you know, it's just when it gets in the way of who you are and it becomes your whole personality.
Yeah. We've talked about the difference in like I'm invested and I'm all in, but I'm all into an unhealthy level.
Yeah.
Like this is all I am. Right?
Yeah.
And doing that in anything, a relationship, with a thing, right? Maybe for a short period of time is great because you can find innate success in a rather rapid fashion. But then if anything ever happens to that thing, then what's left of you?
Exactly.
Right. And so there is again, I hate the word balance, but there is somewhat of a balancing act to it that has to happen.
Well, to an extent, yeah.
It's like when it's like, hey, I want to get a pro card. It's like, well, maybe the balance isn't there.
Yeah.
You know, because again,
so
that's the pendulum being all the way to that one side.
Yep.
But then when it's like when you do the thing or realizing that maybe the thing takes a little longer than you think, right? That's what we said earlier. It's like it's easier than you think, but harder than you imagine.
Yeah.
Right. And you do have some great genetics going for you, and you look fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and some people
don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Feel that in my soul. Fuck. Anyway, but hey, like, you know, it just doesn't mean I still can't do the same things. It's just like, if that's the thing I really want, then I have to realize that the cost of it may be a bit higher.
Right.
In time and effort.
Mm-hmm. And you got to ask yourself if it's worth the cost.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely.
And I think that's a hard conversation to have with yourself, because like once you do like have that conversation, and once you do realize that you may or may not have been putting your entire identity into something, once you free yourself of that, there's a period where you might have to like find yourself, do some soul searching and all that.
Yeah.
But once that's over, it's just like, oh dude, there's so much more to me. I've been like talking to people now. I'm like being more social and shit. I was never much of a social person. I would have never done this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, like yesterday I went for a run with some random people I didn't even know.
Yeah.
You know, met some people, talked to people at the pool I didn't even know yesterday. Just like because I'm free now. Like I'm not so consumed with just one thing, being better at one thing. Now it's just like, okay, how can I just be a better overall person?
Yeah.
So much less stress for me.
Yeah.
You know,
I was telling my therapist the other day, something big this year for me was improving the quality of current relationships that I had with people, but also putting an emphasis on making new relationships, like making new friends, like finding my people per se, like the people who were like-minded, the people I could respect and admire and saw pursuing similar things in life as me. And I didn't realize how much or how impactful those kind of things are, like the social connection and the relationships with people. I spent a good portion of, I'd say, the last 5 or 6 years of my life in this kind of like grind mode, right, per se, and pursuing success and trying to get better. And so I don't need to go out. I don't need to do anything. And I still don't like to go out. It's not something I enjoy, but you don't have to go out to have connection with people and to make good relationships
Right.
and to check up on people and to talk to them. That's an avenue of it, but that's not the only avenue, right? There's other ways to do it. And I've said my therapist, I've been blown away at how much more content and or not even content, but fulfilled my life has been with having those good relationships.
Dude, it's nice, right?
Yeah, like it was something I couldn't even quantify, right? It's not something you can tangibly like grab, like, oh, I have this good connection with someone, but it definitely means something and plays a huge part in your life. So
I think that also just comes down to the, having the willingness to, put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And I think based off what we talked about, we kind of guarded ourselves for a long time, and now it's just like, all right, done living that life, done. I'm over it, so to speak. I'm done with that shit. I'm done self-sabotaging every area of my life, and I'm an open book.
Yeah.
Let's write the next chapter.
Let's do it. All right. I got one more for you, and then we're gonna take some cool photos here. What do you consider the most important trait for someone looking to change their life, whether that's fitness or something like overcoming an addiction or just making their life better?
Honesty.
Ooh, I love that.
Honesty, dude. You gotta be real with yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. You gotta be honest. Honest about where you've let yourself get to where you need to make a change. Like, be fucking for real. You know what I'm saying?
Be fucking for real.
Like, be fucking for real with yourself. Like, if you're just like, my life's not so bad. Like, I just think I might want to dabble in this. But like externally, like, you're really fucking up. Like, I'm sorry, internally, you're really fucking up, but you're just fronting. Maybe you're not ready for change.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think honesty is huge. And then when you do start making the changes, about honesty about how much work you're actually putting in, how much effort you're giving, Yeah. Are you really like that? Are you about that life like you say you are? Or are you just kind of like fronting?
Yeah.
There's times where I've had to be like, and the thing about change is like, I think like if you're constantly trying to change and become better, it's like you have to like reset yourself every fucking day.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, what could I do better? Some days like I don't need to do anything better.
Yeah. Yesterday was good.
Yeah. I'm perfect.
But something may happen today that's like, whoa, fuck.
I might need to, look into that. But if you're not honest with yourself, you're not going to change.
Yeah. Awareness, first step, but then, like you said, being able to be honest with yourself about where you are and what you think and what you're doing. Right. And I think on the same note, it's like correlates hugely. It's like external honesty to the people around you about like where you are, what you can do, what you're capable of, right? Mentally, emotionally, physically. Because I think, like you said, you almost kind of deny yourself what life's maybe has for you if you're being dishonest externally. It's like you're like, I'm this, and life's like, hey, no, like, but like you're so like, well, life's just not working out for me. It's like, or are you being authentic? Are you being genuine?
Yeah.
Is there honesty there, right? All those are characteristics of honesty. So, yeah, honesty's got to be huge, top of the list for me as well.
And then second, I would say grace.
Oh, we talk about this one a lot.
It's hard. Like that's the yeah. It's like you have to be gracious with yourself too. Like you got to like I'm not saying let things slide. Yeah. Still put in the work. Still go hard. But some days aren't going to be the best days.
Yeah.
That's when you have to be gracious and be honest about it.
Yeah.
Start again.
Exactly. So. It's like missing one meal or one night of bad sleep won't derail you.
Yeah. It's
right.
Not,
it's
not
just as long as you,
deal.
Hey, okay, I made a mistake or it didn't go well, but like, what can I do to get back on track or fix it later, like as early as possible, right? Flaws and imperfections are just a staple of existing in life. They aren't like no one is perfect, right? We can say it all day, but I think a lot of people I struggle with it too, being kind to myself, but I've gotten so like much better collectively over the past year, putting a lot of effort into that. Just again, I think for me, it came in accepting things that were out of my control. Like, hey, this was out of my control today. Like I did what I could, had my food, I had this, like time kind of slipped away. I got caught at work a little longer. Like, oh, I was, 1,000 steps shorter than what I wanted to be. It's like, is that 1,000 steps going to fuck up my whole week?
Right.
And like, again, then, or if we set it or expand the time horizon. It's like if you overrate the calories in a day, well, what are the calories for the week?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got 2,000 calories a day. It's like, well, that's 14,000 calories a week. It's like if you were 600 over today, but if in the week scheme, like don't overestimate like today. It's too easy to hyper focus on this one thing right now. Like, but if in the week you only ate 1380, like you're still good.
It's like, so that's the cool thing about it. It's like you have the grace, like understand where you're at, see it for what it is, and then plan accordingly.
Yeah.
You know?
I would say as someone who's very aware and hyper focused on success is before you act in any way, just one, like you said, assess where you are, but then zoom out just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, because there's one thing today, there's one meal, there's one day without the steps, this one workout, like probably isn't going to fuck up as much as, I mean, it won't fuck up as much as you think. If anything, actually may be better for you to not go or to, you know, like you get a little bit more recovery, you feel a little bit better tomorrow. Like there's so many other things. Like just zoom out slightly, look just a little bit like wider at the picture. And I guarantee you, you'll be okay. Like that's a big thing for me was just zooming out a little bit. So I ask everyone, so I'm going to ask you, do you have a quote or something you would like to share?
A quote?
Yeah.
I just made this up. Like,
okay. I didn't tell you. That's my fault. I usually say something.
No, this is just like kind of what comes off the top of my head. Like nothing happens to you. Everything's happening for you.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I may have heard that somewhere or not, but it's just like kind of like what we talked about, you know, like everything is your fault, right? Nothing's happening to you. It's like, oh, this happened to me, blah, blah. It's like, no, this happened for a reason. Yeah. What can I take from this situation and how can I grow from it? You know, going back to everything that we talked about, you know, today, especially like with, you know, how we both struggled with the addiction and, you know, the setbacks in life. There were so many years where I thought like, man, I can't believe this happened to me.
Yeah.
But then when I shifted it to like, I'm glad this happened for me.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be who I am today without all of those experiences, good and bad. You know, I think we hyper focus on, you know, the bad.
Yeah.
The bad experiences, and like we're just like, damn, can't believe that happened to me.
Yeah.
But like when like something good happens, like, wow, I'm blessed. You know what I'm saying?
I'm so grateful that happened.
Yeah,
to
it happened to me or for me. You know, I'm so glad somebody did this for me or someone was looking out for me. But if you just look at experiences as they are, neither good, neither bad, just
they are. Yeah.
Then everything happens for you and nothing happens to you.
I think one of the greatest perspectives I saw on that exact phrase was, life's not happening to me, I'm happening to it. Right? Because it gives you some power. If you're someone who really needs to feel some sense of control, it's like, this injury didn't happen to me, I happened to it. Plenty of people tear their ACL. I happened to tear my ACL. I'm happening to it. You know, this thing was around way before me. I'm happening to it. It's not happening to me. Just to give yourself that little like reframe, that little perspective shift. And Alex says that too. Alex Ramosi says, he's like, things are neither good or bad. They just are. Yeah. I think you kind of like give yourself so much just freedom and let go of so much weight that you don't initially realize you're holding. Like, oh, this good thing happened, or this bad thing happened. Like you're giving it too much power. Yeah. Right. Like it is just that. It's just happening. If the outcomes turn out to be great, then great. If they don't, great. It's okay. Yeah. Right. Because you don't know the paradoxical ideas. You don't know the things that are happening next. So the thing that feels really shitty right now, maybe the thing that sets you up for something that is amazing next. Yeah. Like again, like I missed my meal. No, but you don't know what to like. Let's zoom out for the rest of the week. This really shitty thing's happening to me. It's like maybe it's the best thing that ever happened to you. Yeah. You just don't know it yet. Yeah, dude. Facts. So, well, for anyone who wants to keep up with Ben, I'm gonna put all his info in the show note captions. So if you're a dude and you're looking to get jacked, he could potentially take you on. And so I'll link his Instagram and all his info there so that you guys can reach out with him. For sure. At Ben Pruitt_fit. Yeah. The link will be in the show notes captions of the show. So thank you, everyone. And Ben, thank you. I appreciate you, man. This was fun. I enjoyed it, bro. We'll have to do this again. Definitely. Like,